Great, thanks. Okay, yeah, VocEdit, the browser-based vocabulary editor. Looking at a couple of screens here, so I'll be doing a bit of this. Yeah, Edmond did present this at the eResearch Australasia conference about a month ago. I was there. I'm presenting today. Just a quick introduction. Les Kneebone, I'm sort of a librarian. It's been a while since I worked in a bricks and mortar library. Vocabularies has been my thing for most of my career, basically. And usually paired with controlled vocabulary work is involvement with some kind of content, digital libraries, or increasingly I'm referring to these things now as catalogs. I've been working at KurrawongAI for not very long. It's about 3 or 4 months. It's still the new face at Kurrawong, and there I'm a vocabulary specialist. So I am presenting from Naarm. If you can tell from the image behind my face there in the photograph, Naarm is sometimes referred to as Melbourne. It's a funny name, I know. That photo is taken outside the State Library of Victoria. Fun fact about the SLV, on one block of land, it's actually 23 separate buildings. It's quite a curiosity. And all 23 of those buildings were built on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri. How do you like that? I really like the timeline presented by Simon Cox. I can't remember now if it was this group or the linked data working group, but he gave a timeline about the history of identifiers. And I wish that I could give a shorter history of vocabulary editors. But that was sort of comprehensive and widespread. I'm just going to give you a personal history of tools that I have used as a way of introducing where VocEdit sits, I think, in a kind of an evolution of vocabulary tools. And back in 20 years ago, this year, I got my first thesaurus editing job at the Department of Justice in the Victorian government. I was using a system called TermTree. And TermTree was an Australian product, which I liked because I could bring up the guy and complain about it anytime I liked. It was, and it's last century, pre-semantic web. It doesn't mint any URIs. There's no SCOS. There's no RDF. No one knows what RDF is, more or less. And it's basically a skin on top of a Microsoft Access database and loaded onto your PC to use. So I used that, and there was no integration with that system or even the files that came out of it, no direct integration with any of the content systems that we were using. I went to work at Education Services Australia, and when I got there, Schools Online Thesaurus was already underway, and we were using multi-tests, which really is a similar generation to TermTree, same kind of relational database backend, bit more widely known, international product, harder to get, phone calls with those people. But while we're at Education Services Australia, we learnt about the RDF, and we got excited about URIs and being able to resolve a concept to find out more information about it rather than just what's printed on the screen, I suppose. I don't need to explain any of this to this group, I don't think. So we migrated into Pool Party. We were very early adopters of that product when we were at Schools Online Thesaurus. And if you haven't heard of Pool Party, which is, if you've used the Research Vocabularies Australia editor, that's the software there. I worked at Swinburne University on the public policy taxonomy, which when I arrived there was known as the keywords. And I wasn't happy for it to remain the keywords, and I was pretty keen for this to become a reusable product, and it is uploaded to Research Vocabularies Australia and has linked data, Australian linked data URIs now, but it was being managed within Drupal. And so we know that some content management systems have a vocabulary editor built in to them. Drupal, SharePoint also has a kind of a taxonomy editor or something like this. Again, we used Pool Party to create SCOS vocabularies. And in fact, we actually had an integration between Drupal and Pool Party through a plugin to make this happen. If I had my time again, probably would have looked at Drupal a little bit more closely, because there was some native RDF support within Drupal that probably could have done the work that we needed without the complex integration. Last 3 years, there's a little bit of a theme developing here. Biosecurity Thesaurus at the University of Melbourne. It's been a fascinating project. I was using Pool Party there, and I work at KII now. So we have developed a vocabulary editor in VocExcel, and we are developing a browser-based form to do similar work. So VocExcel is currently available for use. It is a Microsoft Excel application with templating and macros, basically. And it occurred to me when I was putting this timeline together that 20 years ago I was using a Microsoft project which had a Microsoft Access, which had a skin on top of it. And I was using this productively, thinking, oh, that's interesting. I was kind of doing this 20 years ago. It's a little bit unfair, but of course, this is SCOS-based and paired with a validation service that transforms this into some nicely serialized RDF, all this sort of thing. So this works. You can go and have a look at that. But today, really, we're interested in talking a bit about a browser-based system called VocEdit. Through that journey, we've had sort of local installations, and then also we've had sort of server-based applications. So whether it's VocBench or Pool Party or something else, it means that you necessarily need some interaction with some server administration. And I can tell you that through my time that's been challenging. People who manage servers. It still surprises me how often administrators come back to me and say, oh, this vocabulary management thing, I don't really know what it is. And part of me thinks, well, I don't know why you need to know what it is in order to give me the services that I need. But for some reason, it seems to be a hurdle, and it's often been a bit of an uphill battle getting these things installed and maintained. So yeah. VocBench, I have not used productively. Certainly, trialed a few products that aren't in that timeline, but that's another example of a server-based vocabulary manager. And this is what that looks like as a model, I suppose. So you're interacting with a server, and behind that somewhere there's a database that also needs to be managed and maintained. So at KurrawongAI, we're interested in lowering the barrier to using applications for managing vocabularies. So we want to increase adoption, and not only adoption of tools, but also we're interested in ways of getting more community engagement into the vocabulary development process. And so part of the solution for this is to develop a new browser-based tool. This is just a sketchy word cloud of terms, product names that we came up with within KAI for this new tool, and I sort of laughed when I looked at this slide that was used at the conference, and I thought probably we shouldn't show this for much longer. There's not a lot of lateral thinking going on in this in this slide. If anyone can see a pattern, if anyone can see a common prefix that seems to be happening with all of this, I suggested VocEdit. I like that because it was very verby, you VocEdit sort of thing. I did that. That didn't get up. We went with VocEdit. So VocEdit, we will have a quick live demo of the tool, very quick, but it is a browser-based vocabulary editor. It is SCOS compliant. The VocPub profile is an extra layer of quality control over that. And I'm not going to take time to talk about VocPub in detail, but it does, I suppose, recommend metadata elements for concepts and concept schemes, so that they're better managed, basically. And with VocEdit, we can open a vocab from our desktop and we can save it straight back into our local file system. There's no need for servers or databases. This all happens in the browser. It's open source and you can use it today. That link will be on the last slide as well, but that's up and running. It is in development, and really we would appreciate if you want to check it out. We would appreciate some feedback on how you think it's working, on what improvements that could be there, which you can do through GitHub. The VocPub profile, yeah, I'm not going to spend time on this, but this is a way of validating and controlling the quality of the vocabs that happen in the tool. Oops, sorry. Yeah, serialization format. So if you're familiar with Turtle or .ttl files, so Turtle is the serialization that VocEdit likes. And we can upload some existing work into VocEdit, and that's what we will export from there as well. This is Turtle, and we like Turtle because it's compared to some other serialization formats, it's a little more human readable, and there are times when you do need to just look at something with your own eyes and make little manual edits perhaps as well. So Turtle's what we're working with. I have managed to productively migrate work into VocEdit, first of all from VocExcel, and you would hope that I could migrate between two Kurrawong systems, or that would be a very bad look. But I've also managed to take existing work out of Pool Party and to migrate that into VocEdit with some success. And just a trap for young players here. What I noticed about Pool Party is it likes to export a TTLS file, which is some kind of proprietary rubbish. So, and I found that if I just take the S off that file name, it worked fine. I could upload that into VocEdit. So if you are doing that, if you're in Research Vocabularies Australia, the formats that are available there, the Turtle here, that is actually just a .ttl, so that works fine. No need for edits. But if you're using the actual editor there, which is a Pool Party based editor, it puts out this .ttls file. So so I can export any project that where the Turtle is available from RVA, and oh, sorry, yep, okay. Here we are. This tool at the moment only works in Chrome, so stop me when you've heard that one before. But so this is the editor here, and if I open a .ttl file, it's available immediately. This is the concept scheme information. There's a bit of metadata about the concept scheme. They're the top concepts there. Here's a concept, and you can see already that for this concept there is an English label, but also an Indonesian label. We're not handling that at the moment, so that's part of the development, is around different language labels. Other things you would expect to see: relationships to other concepts, narrow terms, broad terms. I don't want to take you through this whole thing, but I really want to make sure that you're aware of this down here. Add a new predicate. So we can add really any predicate that we like to this system. It is extensible, if you like. So really it's a SCOS editor, but it's SCOS plus, whatever you need. So that exact match, this is a SCOS exact match predicate. I actually added that earlier because that wasn't in the default setup. So it's nice and extensible, which is pretty cool. Okay, so that's just a very quick look. Yeah, so we do have some future plans. We would like to be able to support SCOS collections, which is like a sort of a bag of concepts within a vocabulary, if you like, that have some special role. And also to increase some of the validation options with VocPub, or possibly to be able to change VocPub itself. You might want to say, well, we want to use VocPub, but we want to bend the rules of VocPub a little bit for our own local context. And so you can create your own, I suppose, profile or sub-profile for quality control measures. Hierarchical tree navigation. So we were just looking at a thesaurus with 550 concepts, and they were displaying alphabetically. It's not really manageable once your vocab gets to a certain size. You need to be able to view a tree or some other way of getting more access to the concepts in a larger vocabulary. So and generally, UX improvements are definitely on our radar for this tool that's in development. Right, so GitHub's part of the story. Now, I've said, the simplicity of being able to import a vocab via a TTL and then being able to download it. Well, that's great. But what do we do with our turtle file that we've downloaded to our desktop? How do we manage that? How do we protect that? And how do we manage changes going forward? Well, we're interested in integrations between this application and GitHub. But even before there are direct integrations, we are using GitHub productively to manage changes to vocabularies in the work that we do. So this is a sort of a new adoption story. It's using vocabulary tools like VocEdit and GitHub together productively. So you can think that I might be someone who's behind the wheel driving the editing, the chief editor, if you like, of a vocabulary. But there are other users who are stakeholders, and they might have a role in feedback or even approval in some kind of quality workflow for a vocabulary, and they can interact with GitHub. So at the moment, I've cloned a GitHub repository so that when I get new turtle files in my file system, they're pushed up to GitHub, and there we can have some quality control through users of that GitHub space. We're also developing ways to push the vocabs in GitHub out to other places like Research Vocabularies Australia to automate creation and update of vocabulary records there, and possibly for other databases or other use cases as well. I suppose this is in this way, we're really talking about vocabularies like they are just another code set that needs to be managed with pull requests and approvals. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So you can follow the development in GitHub, and if you'd like to get some information about releases from VocEdit, you can write to Edmond, and I think this is new for me now. If you have more general inquiries from Kurrawong about vocabulary issues, you can write to me.